Hi, this is Kris Reid from Ardor Media Factory, and you're listening to You Leading You with Sean Ackerman.
The key to success in this technology-driven and attention-deprived society is finding your own series of organizational systems. Come along and learn how pioneers and pros do it. Welcome to You Leading You with your host, Sean Ackerman.
Hey everybody, welcome back again to another episode of You Leading You. I am excited today to talk to a friend from down under, a gentleman actually who was originally, I should say, from Brisbane, but now he's currently relocated himself into the Philippines. And he's done that through a series of entrepreneurial ventures, and we'll talk a little bit about that. He was a software engineer in the mid-2000s, and today he's working with Ardor Media Factory. Very excited to go ahead and talk to this gentleman because their business itself is helping businesses achieve the utmost success in their niches with helping to drive specific targeted traffic. And we're going to go into a lot of specifics with this gentleman. Very happy to have as my guest, and happy belated birthday, Mr. Kris Reid. Kris, welcome.
Hi, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, definitely glad to have you on. And again, Kris, a lot of your background came into play, looking at what you were doing with Ardor and SEO. And, tell us a little bit about your backstory, though, because you started yourself as a software engineer before you went into, the SEO niche.
Yeah, well, I studied software engineering at university and had a pretty good career in Brisbane. And then I moved over to London and was working for some big banks there like Visa Europe and Euroclear, and having a great old time. But then the global financial crisis seemed to get in the way, and everything went upside down, and me with 1,000 other software developers working in finance all lost our jobs. And, I luckily had quite a bit of cash saved up. So I thought, well, I'm in my mid-20s. Let's go and have some time off and start traveling the world.
So you started backpacking, right?
I certainly did. I put everything I owned into a backpack and lumped it around the world for a couple of years. And I got back to Australia, and I was staying at my dad's place for a little while. And I wanted to learn some web technologies. So I was making this online game, just kind of having a bit of fun and learning some new programming skills. And as the game started getting ready to be played, I started thinking about, well, how do you get people to your website, and how do you get people to play your game? And so I started learning a bit about search engine optimization. And then I started realizing that back then the main part of SEO was backlinks, which basically means the more websites linking to your website, the higher you'll rank because Google perceives it as a bigger authority. And so I worked out some good ways to generate backlinks and get people linking to you, and then found that, well, that's a whole lot easier game to sell than SEO, and I used that for the next 2 years to finance my globetrotting.
And again, so you were doing that while you were actually on the road. Yeah.
So, I mean, that was great. I went and traveled across Europe and Russia and Asia, and lived in the Bahamas and the British Virgin Islands for a while. All the time just doing a bit of projects online and selling backlinks and helping SEO companies rank their customers. And
I've just got to say, it's quite an adventure. Obviously, coming out of school, going into and working in the banking industry in the software field, and then obviously backpacking and then creating a business for yourself that you can carry pretty much anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, it was really by fluke that I, landed into the game. But then I started developing it as a business. And I got serious at one stage, and I had already had quite a few online staff that were based in the Philippines. And by this time, I'd been mucking around for about 2 years. And so I asked them, where's the best place in the Philippines to set up an office? And unanimously, they said Davao, which is in the very south. And so I journeyed on down there. And when I got there, I was quite surprised that none of them even lived in Davao. They all just recommended it. But I saw that it had everything I needed. It was nice, safe, very affordable, and had access to good English-speaking staff. And so I thought it was a perfect place to set up an office. And that's what I did.
Well, so then tell us a little bit about Ardor Media Factory and what you were looking to accomplish. I mean, you were doing a lot with reputation management, really focusing on individual branding and really increasing rankings for individuals. You're looking at content marketing, so there were a lot of different areas that you were focused in. How did you decide on what you were going to focus in under your umbrella? And then how did you start to attack your business?
That's a tricky question.
Okay.
I mean, to start with, and sometimes it feels like you're working on one project and what bears fruit can come in a different direction. So we used to generate links for customers to try and help their rankings. And then we started building this project called Ardor Content, which is basically an article writing service. So we have writers, if you need content about, vacuum cleaners or whatever you're promoting, you just pop in your terms that you want, and the authors will research it and write you an article, and we'll have an editorial team that review it and then send it off to you. And just as we were finishing that project, we started getting into reputation management. And so we became the biggest users of our own content. So now we hire our own writers to, we've done several million words last year, and we use these articles to try and bolster the reputations of our clients. And, sometimes there's some real nasty people on the internet. Like, I've got a bad example myself. Recently a guy contacted me, wanted to buy a domain, and 3 times he'd chatted to me on Skype, and the price that he was offering, I was just like, I'm not interested. I don't want to bother discussing this. You stop wasting my time. And I ended up blocking him on Skype. And so he did a bit of research about who I am, saw one of our brands, and then started defacing it. Made some Facebook pages, made some blog posts about our brand and how terrible we are. And, it really hurt because he wasn't even a customer, but now we have to go and defend our brand. Google doesn't care who posted something. They just see the keywords. I had a potential customer come to me just 2 days ago, and, he saw these posts, and we started a conversation about it, and I told him the story, and he went, yeah, I figured it might have been something like that, because if you look at the content, it's just terrible, deflammatory stuff. But it's nice to work with businesses to try and help protect their reputation, especially if they've been, wrongly accused with something like that,
What are some ways that businesses look to or should look to protect their reputations? Again, you're talking about a brand. I mean, if you're looking at something like Coca-Cola, or you're looking at a business or an entity like Apple, you need to, beware not only the patent trolls and the individuals that are looking to besmirch the business. What are ways that individuals can, not only maintain a reputation that is obviously solid, but then also be able to kind of weather some things and be humble as well?
Well, certainly a small business doesn't have the resources of Apple or Coca-Cola, but there's still plenty of stuff you can do. One thing is a free tool by Google called Google Alerts, and you can add in any search term that you want to be notified for if there's new content that arrives. And so I really suggest that you use a Google Alert for your own name and your business name, so that if anyone's writing content about your business, that it'll send you an email, and then you can go and see whether it's positive or negative. If you do get a negative review, sometimes, like in the case I said, it's, that person had nothing to do with our company, but Google doesn't know that and doesn't care. They're just trying to rank websites based on the content that's there. So with that, it can be very difficult. You need to try and get as many good reviews out there as possible. I mean, I was chatting to a customer this morning about how to get better rankings in their Google Maps listing. I said, just try and go get some more reviews. Go and contact your customers. If you get real reviews from your real customers, it's, it shows how nice you are. It shows how good you are.
Testimonials speak volumes.
Yeah, for sure. And it opens up the door to generally one of your customers, well, his friends or his business colleagues or whatever can be potential customers. So if they're nice enough to leave a review, then their friends might see it and come and be a customer too, you know?
Right. No, you've definitely got to go ahead and guard the borders nowadays, because again, I will, by day I'm Batman. No, by day I work in a professional energy field. And by night, I podcast and I have my You Leading You business, but during the day, I mean, I obviously see that there are individuals that, will, use the opportunity and use social media to their own benefit. Sometimes when they're justified and sometimes when they're not. And it's amazing the power that they can actually leverage through something like a Facebook post or a LinkedIn post, or a Twitter tweet, just to go ahead and see what it does to the overall reputation of an organization. And it's important to be able to weather those as well. And as you said, it's also important to recognize them when they come in and, honestly be able to deal with them and be able to speak to them.
Yeah, I mean, it is good if you can try and contact, if people are sitting there bad-mouthing your business, if you can, talk to them and see who they are. But, sometimes it is just some nasty fool that has more time on their hands than sense,
Right. No, absolutely.
And in those cases, it can get very difficult as to what to do. Like, all you can do is try and get more press about your business that ranks higher than their stuff and pushes it down,
No, absolutely. Let me shift the conversation a little bit, if you don't mind. And I want to talk a little bit about, moving traffic and kind of getting traffic towards your website. And the one thing when looking at that, really that's a component of marketing, and driving traffic towards your site to go ahead and obviously gain wider exposure. But there's also something to be said for content and natural or organic growth as well. How do you tend to look at that, or how do you tend to try to balance those two out to equate even potentially higher growth?
Well, I mean, it's difficult depending on what business you have. If you're a butcher or a baker, it's hard to add content to your website that's really going to get people going there, when people are searching for a new butcher in a city name, there's different avenues to go to rather than trying to add really nice content. But, if you're a wedding photographer or, a videographer or something like that, showcasing what you do is simply the best way to get customers, Plus it's adding really good content to your website.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say, and then it's a matter of being able to drive traffic towards. So again, your content has to be solid, whether you are producing content like a blog or a podcast, or a YouTube channel that has, can potentially have a high number of repeat searches, or even utilizing something like a service-based or a product-based business that you would tend to want to drive traffic towards. You still got to have a solid presence that when you're out there. I mean, again, looking at, your reputation, even though you may not have the resources of a Coca-Cola or have the resources of an Apple, you can still work even in the small business niche and achieve some pretty amazing things with low-cost resources to look as professional as possible, which will then help you to go to the next step, which is to want to drive traffic back towards your organization.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, also traffic is not traffic. All traffic's not equal is what I mean.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you really need to try and work out where your customers are coming from and, focusing on those avenues. If your Facebook page is bringing in sales, then focus on that, or Twitter, or even if you're looking at organic search, you need to really work out what search phrases are turning into customers. Like, say someone searched a big generic term like, web design New York, then, that might give you heaps and heaps of traffic, but it's some really niche, like, WordPress, web design New York, or some little side street or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
It's to work out exactly. The more you can narrow that down, the better you can target that traffic.
Well, what are some of the common things that people are doing now that are really giving them benefit when trying to draw attention or traffic back to their site? You obviously mentioned backlinking and making connections. I completely understand that. As a podcaster, I have, I'll have high profile resource individuals who are on my show, then backlink from their own shows or their own websites back to my site. And I've got some great organic traffic that comes in just from those connections. And obviously you can do that on a much higher and larger scale. But what are some of the ways that, small businesses can start to grow by creating that kind of network?
Yeah, well, again, it depends on what sort of business you are, depending on how difficult it might be. Like if you're a butcher out there, it's unlikely people that really want to link to a butcher website, because there's not that much French content.
I was thinking about that. You know what? If they've got a prime piece of filet mignon sitting up there that looks absolutely scrumdiddlyumptious, I'm not necessarily sure that I wouldn't want to go ahead and go back to that butcher's website again.
True, and you could be creative. Say you're a butcher, you could go to the people, like if you deal with restaurants and other industries like that. You could go to your customers and say, well, how about a link back to my website, saying that you use our certified meat because it's awesome or whatever, and that gives you a nice link back and it shows your authority. The main thing that you're trying to do is, say there's two butchers in town. How does Google know which one's better? Because they both sell meat, they both have nice websites. The only reason they can really tell if one's above the other is that everyone's talking about one. And the way they can see everyone's talking about one, if there's 10 restaurants in town that link to one and none that link to the other, Google assume that one's the better butcher.
Right. Well, and again, as far as Google is concerned, that we were talking before about testimonials, and the same thing can be true for not only the connections and the link backs, but testimonials. I see a lot of people, what they'll be doing at this point on their website is posting link backs to YouTube, which is obviously then a Google-based search engine as well, and which creates even more traffic and even more hits back to their site.
Yeah, for sure. If anyone's making content, that's one of the avenues that we do to make content for people. So we'll make nice YouTube videos about the products and services they have with a nice description, post on YouTube with a link back to their website. That's a cheap way to, get fresh original content and a nice link back to your website. And if you can see other people that are making content that's relative to what you're doing, go and interact with it and, try and get a conversation going and can even lead people directly to your website that way.
Right. What are some of the common mistakes that you see that people make when they're, and again, I know we're asking kind of a broad question, but the audience for You Leading You is typically, entrepreneurs and individuals who are creating their own businesses, small business owners. So some of these people are trying to do this in WordPress, for example, themselves. I know myself, I play with SEO quite a bit. I don't know how successful I am. I try to measure it, but I know I'm not fantastic with it. But people are trying to go ahead and gain more traffic and have more decisive hits back to their site and more views. But people don't really know what they're doing. To be honest, you watch a YouTube video to try to go ahead and get better tags on your site or to get, a better, driven traffic back to your site. What are some of the common things that you see that people are doing wrong?
Oh, that is difficult. And one bit of advice that I would have is that it's not good to be a jack of all trades. What's his name? Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nations, the original architect of modern economics, said the wealth of nations is generated by the division of labor. And so if you're trying to be a professional at everything, you end up being a master of nothing. And so sometimes it is best to invest, even if you've got, when I started my business, we had no money, and for a very long time, it was a huge struggle. But then you need to try and, speak with the people, trade services, whatever you can to work with the experts in the trade. If you're a shoemaker and you make awesome shoes, give someone some shoes to help you with your website promotion. Let the guys that are focused on that do their job,
It's amazing what a little bit of innovation and or kind of thinking out of the paradigm or the box can do for a business or an organization when you are trying to launch. And the internet and the online space and the different avenues, whether it be Instagram or Pinterest or YouTube, Facebook, give us such an amazing platform for us to be able to broadcast that message no matter where we are. So it's very interesting then that your business and what you've really looked to build around this with Ardor Media itself is, a way to help to continue to drive traffic. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing specifically with the business now and kind of some of the direction that you're looking to take the business in the future.
Well, strangely, for a internet-based company, we've found that the internet is not the best way for us to generate customers. We do a lot of direct marketing. So we try and contact people either through email, through the phone, through even postal letters. We find that's a better way to get in touch with the people that we need to speak to. We try and make personalized messages. We try and find out who we need to be speaking to. So if we want to potentially have some web design company in Brisbane, we'll try and find out the right person to contact and try and contact them in a way that will get their attention. That's not, some Indian spammer is sending out 1 million emails. We, try and make something personalized that will open their eyes to us. And that's actually a service that we are looking at providing in the future, because we've found it's an excellent model for us. It's what has enabled us to grow and grow and grow. And we're getting really good at it. We have a lead generation team that go and find potential customers and try and work out who the best people are to chat to and the best avenue to contact them. And then we have our team that go and get out there and contact them and measure the results. And that in itself is a very important thing to do, is measure your results. Like we've got a bunch of letters going out at the moment. And so we just split test them. We send 50 to one bunch of customers and 50 to another. And whichever letter works best, then we change that one and make 2 new ones and then measure again.
Yeah, well, it's constantly evolving and changing. So what are some of the things that you see on the horizon with Google and SEO that again, crystal ball, sorry, but, what are some of the things that you see that may be changing in the marketplace or businesses should start looking at right now to start to gear their marketing in a slightly different direction?
Well, obviously social is becoming more and more and more relevant. That's 100% the truth. Google's looking at building their knowledge engine. They're trying to move away from just backlinks, which is going to prove to be very difficult, I imagine. It's always kind of a Red Queen race, like the Red Queen from the Alice in Wonderland. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, the bigger the walls you make, the bigger the cannons the enemy makes. It's always an evolutionary race. And so the more Google tries to evolve, then the more SEO companies evolve to try and game their system again. As a small business that's not in SEO themselves, I'd just focus on providing really good content, the nicest, cleanest website you can, with the information your customers want to see. That Google is trying to do the right thing to make sure that the playing field is even. That's what they want, is so that 2 bakers that are in the same town, they can compete with each other evenly. They don't have to go and hire an SEO company. Unfortunately, that's not the case, because as soon as one does, the other one has to as well.
Right. Well, and that's just it, because, and then of course it's the one-upmanship or the who's got the better marketing at that point. It's not necessarily, it should of course revolve around content, but it's not just about that. It's about who can have a better, whether it's a lead capture, whether it's some sort of a lead magnet, some sort of draw to bring them into their website or bring them into their fold back to their content, which should be the primary case for them to be driven there in the first place. I've really kind of enjoyed talking, Kris, a little bit about you and a little bit about Ardor SEO and Ardor Media Factory and really what you guys are driving towards that. But, You Leading You is about personal success as well. And you've achieved quite a bit of personal success with what you've been doing. How do you achieve your own success? How do you lead you?
That's a tough question, Sean. I mean,
I prepped you for that a while ago, so you had some time to go for it.
Yeah, you certainly did. And I went for a long walk last night to think about it, and it's very challenging. I mean, I've been in business about 6 years now, and each year's new challenges and new difficulties. As our team grows, it's more management responsibilities. I deal with less and less software. It's growing and it's evolving, and I have to continually learn new skills. One thing that I think is really important is that you take time out to plan and organize. A couple of years ago, I dealt with stress really badly, so badly, in fact, I gained a bald spot on the top of my head through what's called acute alopecia, which is an autoimmune virus. It's like your immune system attacking itself due to stress. After that, it was a bit of a shock, so I thought I better learn to deal with this. And so now, one thing I do in the mornings is meditation. I find that that's really great to clear your mind and just get it completely blank and ready to focus. And then make sure you use tools, like especially as you start managing teams, you can't keep everything in your head. Your head will just explode. So you need to write things down. Like there's a great tool that I use for email called Boomerang. So you can send someone an email, and if they don't respond, you can set it to boomerang back in 2 days, 2 weeks, whenever you want, which is awesome for leads. So if someone says, "Oh, can you contact me in May?" You go, "Sure, no worries," and boomerang back in May, and then it comes back and away you go. So you don't have to remember it anymore. Using calendars to write things down and let you know, when to do stuff. These are the sort of things, get everything out of your mind. I certainly think that's a key to success.
Are you an Evernote fan?
No, we use Basecamp for team management. I use Google Calendar for my self management. They're the two main tools that we use.
Yeah, I know. I you were mentioning Boomerang. I love Streak for Gmail.
Yeah.
I live and die. I hate to say it, as far as my templates are concerned. I just love I love a good streak. So. I use the canned responses which is a free plugin with Gmail, and I find that's good because a lot of the times you send 100 emails a day, and when you're doing customer service, most of it's the same questions and the same answers, Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much for obviously, and again, it's funny. I've done well over 100 interviews, and with everybody I've spoken with, there's a lot of commonalities as far as their you leading you moments and the way that they lead themselves to success, and planning and organizing and meditation tools and utilizing calendars and time management are things that are near and dear to my heart. And it's also something that's part of a lot of the successful people that are out there. So I appreciate you sharing that. And again, really validating for those that are out there listening, they can achieve success by doing some of the things that you heard Kris talk about today. And Kris, thank you so much for your time today. What's the best way that our audience can be in touch with you?
They can visit our website. That's Ardor, ARDOR, mediafactory.com.
All right, fantastic. And what's coming up in the near future?
More of the same, more content marketing and more reputation management.
Fantastic. Well, enjoy. Kris, I really enjoyed the chance for you and I to get the chance to connect and talk and talk SEO and your journey. And thank you so much for being on the show today.
Awesome, Sean. Thank you very much.
All right, folks, another great episode of You Leading You. Enjoyed talking to Kris Reid. Really focused on making sure that as organizations, we try to drive content, we try to create quality, and we really keep our reputations in mind. Kris, thank you so much.
Cheers, Sean.
All right. Folks, we'll see you on the next episode.
Email us feedback questions at youleadingyou@gmail.com or like our Facebook page at You Leading You. Thank you, because from organization evolves success.